This week I learned of a new remake, one which shocked and saddened me. So shocking was the news that it scared the beard right off my face. They are going to make a live-action reboot of The Secret of NIMH. The announcement of the reboot was made early this month, but it was only this week that I got to hear about it. There I was, minding my own business, just pottering about on the internet, when suddenly, like a bolt out of the blue, came the news that they were going to do this reboot of The Secret of NIMH, and it was going to use a mixture of CGI and live action. Now, this movie holds a very, very special place in my heart. It's a movie that I used to watch quite a lot as a child. It has great sentimental value to me, and even with that said and done, it's still a fantastic movie and is probably one of my all-time favourites. So hearing the news that Hollywood was going to do a remake of it didn't exactly sit well with me, but still I approach it with the same level of maturity and grown-up panache that you'd expect of a man like myself. Why? Why would anybody do this? Whose bright idea would it to make a Secret of NIMH reboot, for Christ's sake? Who does this kind of thing? I mean, okay, let's just calm down for 1 minute and consider this point. This isn't a straight reboot of the Don Bluth movie. It is an adaptation of the pre-existing source material. It is both a reboot and a prequel. Because that went so well the last time you tried it! Okay, so this movie isn't going to be a straight remake of the Don Bluth movie, so at least we can be thankful of that. It's going to be a new adaptation of the original source material which gave us that Don Bluth movie, which, whilst I'm not exactly thrilled about, at least that's something different. It's something new, it's something that could be interesting. This version is going to be a CGI live-action hybrid, and whilst that may bring visions of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, at least that goes even more to distance itself from the Don Bluth movie, which is great, which is fine. You never know, this new version may be interesting, it may be actually genuinely good and could, to a certain degree, work as a companion piece to that Don Bluth movie and make both of them even more awesome. I mean, this version is going to be about the rats of NIMH and the experiments done on them, which is something that isn't that explored that much in the Don Bluth movie. It is touched upon in one flashback sequence, but it's not really the whole subject of the movie. It's about Mrs. Frisbee and her attempts to save her family, which is fine in itself. It's based upon a different book, but this version will allow us to explore some very taboo subject matter. The idea of animal experimentation and animal testing. Something that hasn't really been discussed that much in family movies for obvious reasons, but at least this way we can take that very taboo subject matter and present it to a new audience, which will allow the audience themselves to learn about it and to go away in their own time and to think about it, to consider their point on it. Maybe it'll change their opinion, maybe it'll reinforce it, maybe it'll have no impact upon them whatsoever, but at least this way that debate can be had and it can be spurred on and inspired to a whole new generation of young people, which I think is great and amazing. So in order to do this, we need a really great writer. We need one hell of a writer. Someone who can take this very taboo subject matter and this very well-known, very well-loved source material and treat it in a way which is mature and grown up and sensitive, but also tackle the subject matter, the taboo subject matter, in a way which is balanced and fair and doesn't club us over the head with its social commentary. So who's going to do the writing of this adaptation? Well, I've never heard of them, but they're called Michael Berg, I think that's how you say it, Michael Berg, who I myself have never heard of. He's probably some new, interesting little writer who's really going to shake up the establishment with this great and awe-inspiring Oh. Okay, just because this is the writer of the Ice Age movies doesn't mean to say this movie is going to be silly and wacky and over the top. This could be a radical new direction for him going and tackling this material in a very dramatic, very grown-up and mature way, in a way which will... Oh God, why would you do this? Oh God almighty, whose stupid idea is this? I mean, why would you do this to this source material? I mean, for God's sake, would you do a remake of this never-ending story? Oh, thank God. You wouldn't do a remake of Gremlins? Oh God, I mean, you wouldn't do a remake of the Garbage Pail Kids now, would you? Oh God, no!
Oh my God.
Okay, so let us just take all the emotion out of this. Let us take all the rage, all the fanboy foam out of it, and ask this one simple question. Why would anybody want to make a remake or any other adaptation of The Secret of NIMH? Almost all the reboots, remakes and reimaginings that have come out over the past few years have had one thing in common: a pre-built audience. These are fans of the original source material. Either they remember collecting the toys as they were growing up, or they remember the TV show, or they remember the original version of that movie. These are fans who, even if they hate the new direction that this movie is going in, will probably go and see that movie anyway, either just out of obligation to the franchise, or to see how great a car crash this is going to be, so they can make loud, shouty, sweary videos on the internet. NIMH doesn't really have that. The original movie, whilst it wasn't a flop when it came out, by today's standards it's a bit obscure and a bit of a cult classic, and, well, for many people this is going to be the first time learning that there is actually a Secret of NIMH book, so altogether it's not exactly flavour of the month now, is it? So unless the books and the movie has gone through a massive, and I mean massive, period of reinvigoration, it's not exactly going to have a pre-built audience with which to sell this material to and to make this movie a big smash hit, which it really needs to be. There is kind of a pre-built audience into this, however, which is fans of the Don Bluth movie and the original books, though I can't really see them getting involved that much with this because, well, this version is trying to be wacky and silly, which the Don Bluth movie really isn't, and I'm reliably informed that the original books really aren't, so to fans of either of those, this is going to feel like a horrible mismanagement of that material, and that lore, and that world. And even if, shock horror, this movie were good, it's not exactly going to have the necessary widespread appeal to make it a big success, because, well, it's going to be a movie about animal experimentation. It's not the kind of movie that the Johnson family are going to want to see after coming home from Sunday Mass, now are they? We've heard a lot of rumours recently about the new Ghostbusters movie, and there's been one that stuck out in my mind which is very relevant to the conversation that we're having here, which is that the writer or the director or somebody said that they wanted to make this new version a little bit more scary than the original version. Now, let's say for one moment that they do that. They make it more of a horror comedy than a straightforward comedy movie. They strip away some of the comedy, add a little more scary horror elements, they make it a little bit more like Brain Dead or Return of the Living Dead, and would that necessarily make this version less of a success because it's taking this source material in a radically new direction? Well, not necessarily, because there are going to be plenty enough people wanting to see this movie because it is a new Ghostbusters movie, or they see it purely on brand recognition. They've not seen the other Ghostbusters movies and they just want to see this one. They want to see what the fuss is about. Also, they've also got this all-female ensemble cast that they're going to have with this movie, which the female ensemble comedy cast is really, really in at the moment. So the makers of this movie have really cleverly hedged their bets by taking a well-known, easy-to-recognise brand and a well-known, very in-at-the-moment comedy setup and combining the two of them so this movie has the widest possible appeal that it possibly can do. NIMH, once again, doesn't have that luxury and has so many things going against it. It's an obscure property which came out decades ago. It's about a difficult taboo subject matter which isn't easy to sell to a wide audience. Its existing fan base is very, very small, and it isn't the kind of adaptation that they'd really like to see. And it's being written by somebody whose main property hasn't been relevant for 3 or 4 years, if that. So unless the real reason this movie is being made is so that the studio can pull a Marty, there's no real reason for this movie to exist on financial reasons alone. You never know, maybe the people making this movie really, really want to make this. Maybe this is a passion project for Berg. Maybe he was inspired by the Don Bluth version when he was growing up and this is his perfect opportunity to really do something new and interesting with that material. Though, in any case, regardless of the intentions of it, it will be forgotten about almost a week after it's been released. There is at least one upside to this, which is the fact that this is going to be a live-action CGI movie with wacky, hilarious characters, which means that this movie is going to be instantly different to the Don Bluth version. It's not going to try and compete and replace it. This movie isn't being made out of some mean-spirited attempt to besmirch and destroy the original. This movie is being made out of corporate greed and stupidity and nothing else. And you never know, some people watching this new version may be inspired to check out the books or to watch the Don Bluth movie. You really don't know. There is a reason why the original books and the Don Bluth movie survived for so long, and why they're considered such timeless classics. It's because they're not products, and they're not designed by committee. They know how to treat their subject matter and the audience, and they don't play down to the folks at home. This version will be full of pop culture references, product placement, flat character development, a surrogate version of those minions from Despicable Me, probably played by field mice, and in the end it'll end with one big wacky song and dance sequence. Love it or hate it, that's the formula for almost all DreamWorks movies. And they work perfectly fine when those movies are just silly CGI cartoons and nothing more. Here that won't work, as the subject matter itself isn't something that can be done in such a wacky and hilarious way. At the end of the day, this movie will fail. It'll be forgotten about before you know it, so there's no real need to get angry or upset about it. I mean, sure, I'm still pissed off at the fact that Hollywood yet again is making an adaptation of a movie in a way which suggests that they don't understand what made that original one work so well, but at the end of the day, we still have that original Don Bluth movie, we still have the books, they're not taking them away, they're not burning them, they're not locking them away out of all sight, and you never know, this may get people interested in those different versions of it, which can only be a good thing. And this movie will flop, it will bomb horribly. It'll be out of cinemas before you can say box office bomb or Jupiter Ascending, whichever one you'd prefer. But what about you? What do you think? Are you excited by the prospect of a new Secret of NIMH movie? Are you angry? Are you upset? Whatever you think, leave a comment in the comment section below in whichever web zone you're watching this on, whether it is YouTube or somebody else. Let me know and I'll probably get back to you at some point in the not too distant future, either in a direct comment to you or maybe in a video reply. In any case, thank you for watching and goodbye. Fuck my jaw!